What drives a person to the brink of suicide? What could push them so far? Today we delve into the tragic love story of Gaurav and Huma. In the heart of Bhilai, India, a love story bloomed. Gaurav, a young man with dreams as vast as the sky, fell head over heels for Huma, a woman whose charm was as alluring as a siren's song. Their bond was formed over 4 years ago, a bond that Gaurav believed to be unbreakable. His love for Huma was profound, an emotion that transcended the boundaries of ordinary affection. In his eyes, she was his world, his universe. Their relationship, like any other, had its ups and downs. They had their fair share of joyous moments and petty squabbles. But Gaurav, smitten by his love for Huma, always found a way to mend things, to keep their bond intact. However, their love story was tainted with betrayal. Huma time and again broke Gaurav's trust. She played with his emotions, entangled him in a web of lies. Yet Gaurav, with a heart full of love, forgave her. He forgave her not once, not twice, but multiple times. He was like a moth drawn to the flame, knowing well that the fire could burn him, yet unable to resist its allure. Gaurav's love for Huma was selfless, unconditional. He was aware of her betrayals, yet chose to overlook them. He believed in the power of love, in the possibility of change. He held on to the hope that their love could conquer all obstacles, even the most challenging ones. But as time went on, Gaurav started discovering some unsettling truths about Huma. As Gaurav dug deeper, he discovered a side of Huma he never knew existed. The facade of the woman he loved began to crumble, revealing an addiction that was as dark as it was shocking. Huma was a sex addict. This wasn't just an occasional indulgence or a harmless hobby. It was a constant, all-consuming craving that held her captive. Gaurav was astounded to learn that Huma was not just in a relationship with him, but with more than 10 other people. This revelation was a punch to the gut, a blow that left him gasping for breath. The woman he had given his heart to was sharing hers with a multitude of others. The shock turned into heartbreak as Gaurav found himself catching Huma red-handed, not once but multiple times. Each time he would confront her, and each time he would see the truth in her eyes before she could deny it. The sting of betrayal was a bitter pill to swallow, and it left a taste in his mouth that no amount of forgiveness could wash away. Despite the hurt, Gaurav's love for Huma was so strong that he found himself forgiving her time and again. He was caught in a vicious cycle of pain and forgiveness. Each time he forgave her, he hoped it would be the last. Each time, he was left disappointed. But the pain kept piling up, like bricks in a wall that was slowly closing in on him. His heart was heavy with the weight of his love for Huma, a love that was being returned with deceit and betrayal. This was the dark reality that Gaurav was grappling with, a reality that was slowly pushing him towards a tragic decision. The constant betrayals and the emotional torment started taking a toll on Gaurav. It was as if he was trapped in an abyss of despair, a web of deceit spun by Huma and her family. Gaurav's world began to crumble piece by piece as he struggled to cope with the harsh reality. The person he loved, the person he believed in, was not who he thought she was. Every revelation was like a dagger to his heart, each betrayal a stab wound that bled his trust and self-esteem. Huma, her sister, and her brother-in-law, they all became puppeteers in this cruel show, pulling the strings that controlled his emotions. Their actions, their words, their indifference to his feelings all contributed to the slow erosion of his mental health. They say love is blind, but in Gaurav's case, it was like a pair of spectacles that magnified his pain. His love for Huma was his biggest strength, and yet it became his greatest weakness. He was stuck in a vortex of emotional abuse, where his love for Huma was used as a weapon against him. The alleged harassment by Huma, her sister, and her brother-in-law was relentless. It was as if they were on a mission to break him, to shatter his spirit, to rip apart his soul. He was treated like a pawn in their selfish game, a game where his feelings were trampled upon, his dignity was compromised, and his trust was shattered. The emotional torture he endured was beyond comprehension. Imagine feeling helpless, trapped, and isolated in your own world, with no one to turn to, no one to share your pain. That was Gaurav's reality. He was a prisoner in his own life, a life that was slowly being sucked out of him. And then the breaking point came. The moment when the pain became unbearable, when the torment became too much to handle. Gaurav was pushed to his limits. He felt cornered with no escape. The light at the end of the tunnel seemed to flicker out, leaving him in complete darkness. Gaurav was standing on the precipice of despair, staring down into the abyss. In his darkest hour, Gaurav turned to social media, making a heartbreaking video on Instagram. His voice, heavy with despair, echoed the pain of a man pushed beyond his limits. He spoke to his parents first, apologizing for the steps he was about to take. His words were a testament to the life he was leaving behind. A life that had everything one could wish for. A new house, a loving family, a brother on the brink of matrimony. But in the face of relentless torment, even these blessings seemed to lose their shine. His voice trembled as he recounted the false promises made by Huma, the woman he loved. This wasn't her first transgression, he confessed. There had been multiple instances of deceit, yet he had always forgiven her, always held on. He called Huma a sex addict, a revelation that added a new, dark layer to his tale of woe. He disclosed her obsession with explicit content, a habit that had spiraled out of control. But it wasn't just Huma who had driven him to this point. Her sister and brother-in-law were equally culpable, he claimed. Their torment had been relentless, pushing him further into the abyss of despair. Ignoring his pleas, turning a deaf ear to his cries for help, they had forced him into a corner with no way out. In his final moments, Gaurav made a desperate appeal. He urged everyone to share his story to ensure that his tormentors did not escape justice. His voice, filled with a grim determination, underscored the gravity of his plea. He was prepared to pay the ultimate price, but not without ensuring that his story was heard. He ended his video with a desperate plea. Please take action on this and get them punished. Gaurav's story doesn't have a happy ending. A tale that began with love, hope, and dreams of a shared future spiraled into a tragedy beyond comprehension. His life, filled with promise and potential, was abruptly extinguished, leaving behind a void that could never be filled. The day Gaurav decided to end his life was just another ordinary day for most of us. But for him, it was the culmination of a long journey of pain, betrayal, and despair. He chose to record his final moments, a digital testament to his suffering, his plea for justice echoing in the hearts of those who heard his story. In the aftermath of Gaurav's suicide, a wave of shock and grief swept across the community. Friends, family, and even strangers were left grappling with the reality of his loss. The vibrant young man who had so much to give to the world was no more. His home, once filled with laughter and love, now stood as a silent memorial to his life cut short. But as the initial shock subsided, it gave way to a deeper sense of sorrow and regret. Regret for the signs of distress that went unnoticed, for the silent pleas for help that went unanswered, for the love that was tainted by deceit and betrayal. Gaurav's story is more than just a tale of a love gone wrong. It's a sobering reminder of the darker side of human nature, of the devastating impact of emotional abuse and betrayal on the human psyche. It highlights the need for empathy, understanding, and compassion in our relationships, for recognizing the signs of distress in our loved ones. As we mourn the loss of Gaurav, we must also remember his final plea. The plea for justice, for holding accountable those who pushed him over the edge. His voice, forever immortalized in his final video, is a testament to his struggle against the odds, against the darkness that eventually consumed him. Gaurav's story is a stark reminder of the devastating effects of emotional abuse and betrayal. His voice, forever immortalized